ensayar rápido, no cosa de poner pie, lo ensayar rápido, no cosa de poner pie.
Welcome back to Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Small.
And I'm Paul Ogden.
We're talking today about the state of Major League, or the state of baseball. Our guests are Pat McCarthy, former baseball coach from Zionsville High School and Pike High School, and George Wilson, who is a Cleveland Browns fan and a fan of American League Baseball, but baseball in general. I think that's fair to say, baseball in general.
Absolutely.
In this segment, we wanted to talk about how long the season is. I remember when I was a kid, the Cincinnati Reds opening game was always, Major League had a rule that the Reds were to be, because they were the oldest franchise, they had the opening game. And I remember staying home from school one time, I was like 14, and I think Nolan Ryan pitched opening day for the Mets down in Cincinnati. And it was raining and cold and really lousy watching it on TV. And then we went to opening day a couple of years ago down in Cincinnati, and it was rainy and cold and lousy. But they have a parade there in Cincinnati that makes baseball's really special. And it was really kind of neat, and I enjoyed it. And I've been to opening day at Wrigley, but when I lived in Chicago, but it wasn't the same festive air. But it was warm out. Cincinnati might have been cold and rainy that day, but it was like in mid-April, whereas now everything gets pushed back earlier, and the World Series ends when it's snowing out.
Right. One of the problems is they've got rid of doubleheaders. You used to have doubleheaders a lot over the summer, obviously during the summer, but on the weekends you'd have one or two doubleheaders a lot of times, and that shortened the season significantly because you get two games in one day, and they don't have doubleheaders anymore, at least scheduled doubleheaders. The only doubleheaders you see are the ones where there's been a rain out or trying to do a makeup. So I think it's a problem.
Why do they do that?
It would be a way to shorten the season for sure, but what they're trying to do is up the revenue. The way they could do it is the way they're having doubleheaders now with the rainouts. They'll have an afternoon game, clear the park, 2 hours after the game, after the first game ended, they'll reopen, get the field ready. They can recharge people that way. The revenue keeps coming in if that's what their big deal is. But that would shorten the season so we don't have a World Series first week of November.
And I'm a big baseball fan, but a doubleheader is tough to sit through.
It's arduous. There's no question about it. I can remember going to doubleheaders as a kid, and it seemed so exciting at the front end. About the fourth inning, the second game, it does get a bit wearying. But at the same time, you have to find a way to shorten the season. For the World Series to wrap up the first week of November is absurd. And again, if you're in a cold weather city, if you're in the Northeast or the upper Midwest, it becomes a real challenge.
You're playing Russian roulette with weather.
Sure, and the game is very different. When you're playing in 30-degree temperatures, it's not the same.
No, not the same for the players, not the same for the fans.
Exactly.
It's a miserable experience.
Sat in Wrigley one time, and it was late April, I believe. And they were playing the Giants, and it was high 40s, and the breeze was coming in off the lake. We were drinking old style as fast as we could to get a buzz on as quickly as we could, so that we wouldn't suffer from the cold.
Right.
That was kind of like dubious logic, and that was a double header. I remember that too. But the double headers can get real long, and at the same time, double header story. A friend of mine was on staff at the Paul School of Law and lived in our neighborhood. The Cubs played a daytime doubleheader, and the team on the south side was playing a twilight doubleheader.
Team on the south side.
He made the daytime doubleheader, caught the Howard L down there to the south side, and saw the nighttime doubleheader. And I asked him how the experience was. He said he only remembered the first 2.5 games.
But baseball, as I said, is a miserable sport, and Pat can speak to this. Holding a wooden bat when it's 35 degrees out and getting one on your fist
These things are
painful experience. It's a totally different game. It's hard to get warm when you're in baseball. It's not like football where you run around and you can warm up. You can't warm up in baseball.
a long inning out of the field is horrible.
Yes.
Sure. Well, and I think baseball owes it to its fans to be essentially a summer sport. I think that's what it's all about. And I think, again, with doubleheaders and perhaps even, condensing the schedule. I mean, I'd sound like a heretic saying that. There's nothing magical about 162 games.
Yes, there is.
I thought about going back to 154.
Mm-hmm.
You have stats that reflect the 154 game season.
So then would we put an asterisk next to the names of all the people who...
We're doing that anyway.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. What about limiting the playoffs? Because...
Well, before we get into that, day night, are we all agreed that we could live with day night?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we don't have a problem with double headers, and they can charge the admission on both games.
How much time does it take to clear a ballpark? And conditioning the field is nothing.
Yeah. A 1 o'clock start to 7:05 start, you're going to be perfectly okay.
Well, but that's really a long day for the players. I mean, and
It
you got to
is.
think about their
job.
The thing is, you could have a 1 o'clock start and a 5 o'clock start, and start having umpires limit the time that pitchers are taking and the number of times a batter can step out of the box.
There's an entirely different matter.
I mean, because that's silly. It's really, just play. I mean, just throw the ball.
Mike Hargrove could never have played in major leagues without all of that. I mean,
but Scotty Sanderson, when he was pitching for the Cubs, if you look at the games where he was taking all the time in the world and was delaying and everything, he pitched the worst. That's what he wanted to do. When he was hurried up, he was really focused on the game.
Well, if you talk about the length of the game, one of the major factors that has lengthened the game is the number of relief pitchers that they bring in the ball games.
Yeah.
It used to you have a starter, maybe a
Tony Russo,
mid-game,
master.
right, and then you have a reliever, and the reliever used to go an inning. The closer, I should say.
Right.
Now the closer goes with one batter.
well, it's become so incredibly specialized. I mean, you see, left-handed specialists. You see a guy come in for 1 out in a critical inning.
Right.
But again, I mean, it goes back to the point, you don't have starting pitchers who go over 5-6 innings anymore.
No, they're going for 100 pitches.
Yeah.
That's their magic number.
So many pitchers are on pitch counts, and I think back to where a good starting pitcher, in the 60s, 70s would go 300 innings. Now for anyone to go 200 innings is remarkable.
Right.
Who was the player? You bought the book for me, and I'm partway into it.
Radburn?
Yeah.
Haas Radburn.
He was
great.
a pitcher in 1884.
It was 59 and 84.
In 1884.
Right.
He won 59 games.
Right.
And he was pitching every day.
Every day.
But his arm was so shot by the end of the season. And starting pitchers at that time only lasted 4 or 5 years. That was the length of their season. So
Their
career. Yeah, and so I can understand. And another part was, I read a book about the 1948 season in which the pitchers were encouraged to bulk up over the winter and put on 20, 30, 40 extra pounds because they were going to be losing that during the summer because it was so hot and they're in wool uniforms pitching during the day. That's terrible for metabolism, and those people aren't going to live to be really, really old, but they're doing that to their bodies. But in terms of the length of the games, I think that there are ways that they can be shortened, but also limiting the playoffs. What about that?
Well, I'm totally against adding another wild card team. anytime, the more teams you add to the playoffs, the more you devalue the season. The season's already 162 games. We don't need to have a whole bunch of teams in the playoffs. It's fine the way it is now. I don't think we're going to see less than 4 teams. And actually now I guess it's, you tell me, George, it's a done deal. That
Right, there'll be a knockout game, a single game playoff as well. Which, again, you might as well hand out participation ribbons. I'm sorry.
There's one knockout game. Why not add 2?
Well, exactly, and that's what's going to happen
Yes,
sooner or
that's what's
later.
going to happen.
And once again, because they're going to have another series then, and so you'll have all these different teams, and it becomes boring. I don't see anything wrong with just shortening the series to play into the league championship series. Put it down to 5 or maybe even to 3 games, and so that you don't. Is it 5 now or it's 7?
It's 7.
7.
Yeah.
Well, let's start at 5.
Yeah, take it down to 3, and have the league championship series down to 5. I know that the owners are going to be losing money that way, but it's going to shorten.
So you potentially could play 21 playoff games now. I wasn't sure that first series was 7 games. Is it now?
Yeah.
With the wild card?
Yeah.
Actually, with the knockout game.
Yeah, if you came through as a wild card, yeah, you could theoretically play 22 postseason games.
Yeah. It's a lot of playoff games.
It is. It's too many.
Right.
And again, that's why we end up playing the first week of November when the snow's falling.
Well, and also, when you look at the price of going to a ball game, when you look at the price, sure, that's entertainment dollar. That's really something that's a lot of fun, but it's really expensive. That's why we wouldn't go to Wrigley because it's really expensive to go to see a Cubs game. But they're choking so badly now. It might actually be reasonable. The Reds have really good prices on things because scalpers would be dumping off tickets. You get it to August, September, you can get it pretty cheap, especially if you're going to see them play the Nationals or the Pirates or something. It's like how you think about going to games. But when you go to a game, you're looking at a decent seat costing $65. A hot dog is going to cost $5. A beer is going to cost $7 or $8. Soft drink, I don't know what they charge for those. When you get to the end of the day, I mean, it's highly expensive to attend a baseball game, and so only a few people who have a lot of money can afford to see the games.
Right. And that's a big problem because families want to take, or parents want to take their kids to the game, and that's part of the process. And we all grew up probably going to maybe a major league game, minor league games, and our parents taking us and
Mine didn't.
A lot don't have that. So I know you probably didn't.
But that's one aspect of Indianapolis that is really advantageous is we have the Indianapolis Indians here, and that's relatively inexpensive.
Yes, it is. It's a great value, actually.
Box ticket, $13. Beers are still $7, $6.50. I mean, and the hot dogs, I'm sorry, are mediocre. So we're going to be wrapping up this segment. We'll be back in just a minute.